So I will call to order the meeting of the Monroe County Solid Waste Management District Citizens Advisory Committee. This is our third Thursday of July regular meeting. It's the 20th, 2023. And they are right at 5:30 p.m. Vice Chair will please call the roll.
Joseph
Here.
John Arnold,
Present.
Matt Austin,
Present.
Brian Edwards here, Bill Goins,
Present.
and Paul White.
Here.
Bradley Lucas, she's not here.
Yes, we do have forum. And the agenda was distributed yesterday. I apologize for the late delivery. It's also shown on the screen. Is there any objection to adopting the agenda as distributed and shown on the screen? All right, seeing none, the agenda is adopted. And as I pointed out in the email, things are a little bit in a different order so that we can prioritize time. We're going to go ahead and start with the district.
I'll leave the budget till the next agenda item, but I guess for those that didn't watch, we're at the last meeting. We recently had two resignations at our South Walnut Recycling Center, which Joey Long, our operations director, and I looked at after we got those. We kind of looked at how things were organized over there. It gave us an opportunity to do some reorganization, and we eliminated one full-time position. We filled a budgeted position, but that had been vacant all year, a second truck driver position. And then the position that was eliminated was one of the resignations, our Green Business Network coordinator. And with both of those duties, we transferred to our Kayla Strand, our waste reduction specialist. The intent when we developed that position was for somebody to have somebody that could go out into the business, the institutional community, and work with them on ways to reduce their waste generation. So the Green Business Network just kind of fit right in there. It's a tool, a service that would be at her disposal, that could offer to these organizations. Because here's one thing we can do for you to help reduce what you're sending for disposal. So the board approved all of that, and that's been implemented in the office, and it seems to be going really well. So we're pleased with that. Another thing that was briefly mentioned at the board meeting, for those who missed it, we did a small pilot recycling program at the fair this year. It was kind of a last minute thing, but we pulled it together. We did strictly plastic, predominantly looking for plastic bottles, water bottles, Gatorade bottles. Again, it was like we had 8, maybe 10 totes, we thought strategically placed around the fair. I think we got a 12 or 13 like 55-gallon bags, I think would have been in those totes. So we got 12 or 13 bags. The guys that collected it, very little contamination, really pleased with, we got what we were looking for in there. So we thought that went really well. So we're gonna between this year and next year, before the fair next year, talk to the fair board about expanding that next year, and maybe see if we can't find ways we could do something to collect cardboard from all the vendors, which would be the primary producers of that, in a manner that would not, something that wouldn't be obvious to all the visitors at the fair to say, oh, look, a trash can. So there's some things to work out with the fair board, but so we're going to do that. We're going to leave. We have the benefit of one of our employees, Danny Perstfield. He and his wife recently moved out to the fairgrounds. They're the groundskeepers out there, so they've provided a house out there as part of the compensation for maintaining the fairgrounds, dealing with all the various organizing the events and unlocking buildings and stuff. So we have the benefit of him being out there. So we're going to leave those totes out there, and we're going to try to have those available for other various events that occur at the fairgrounds throughout the year. See what we can do to generate some interest in recycling for the various events that are at the fair. But at least we're optimistic and excited by the experience we had with this year's fair, even though it was a limited capacity. We were looking for one type of material. And I don't know, beyond that, Joe, did I forget anything that was brought up at the meeting? There's not really much else that's been happening in the office. Still finalizing budget. We do have our annual every year, all the budgeting, public budgeting agencies do a workshop with the Department of Local Government Finance. Ours is scheduled for the 26th next week. So we're getting everything together for that. Just making sure our budget numbers align with the projections for growth and that they don't think that we're overly estimating revenues or expenses, and that will be balanced at the end of the year.
I think the only other thing that comes to my mind is the board approval of the associate agreements.
Oh, yeah, I get that kind of an important one. So yeah, we did. We were able to negotiate identical host fee agreements with Rumpke and Republic. For the purposes of Republic, the agreement will replace and supersede the existing host fee agreement that was signed in 2004. So we're excited about that. It does maintains the same $2.75 per ton host fee. Does have the same price rate increase controls that the previous one had related to annual increases being constrained by whatever the CPI is on a given year with a 12% max and over a 3-year span. I guess from the district's perspective, probably the key difference is that the host fee is now is required to be paid quarterly. We were previously by Republic being paid on a monthly basis. But this agreement calls for quarterly payments, but that is because in order to clarify the waste that is subject to the host fee, we're using the required quarterly tonnage report the facilities have to submit to the state, which identifies the county of origin of the material. So you identify it as Monroe County origin, then it's subject to the host fee. So that way we'll get those quarterly tonnage data to be able to confirm the host fee payment. Hopefully that'll be a pretty clean process and avoid any disputes between any of the three entities not paying. Then I don't know, did you want to talk the rebranding process, or do you want to do that on your own after I go, or?
Yeah, we can do that later.
Okay. And that's probably all I had.
Okay. Okay, so are there any questions on the report?
How often is there a disagreement or discrepancy in what one group says? It was.
We've only ever had this with one. There's only ever been one entity. But now that Rumpke has a facility in the county, this will be the first time that we've had that host fee agreement in place for two different facilities. So I'm optimistic that we won't really have any issues. I think both entities were pretty agreeable to the negotiating process. I think they're both interested in keeping the host fee in place and trying to keep things moving forward with two facilities instead of one. So I just wanted to cover all bases when we wrote the agreement, and from my perspective, that if there is a disagreement, then basically somebody's calling in to question the accuracy of somebody's tonnage report. That's an issue for the state to get involved in, not for us.
And then just a quarterly payments, does that impact this compared to the monthly? Does that impact?
The only impact would be, end of year revenue this year might be slightly down, because instead of getting a payment in November or December, that October, November, December period, December would normally be paid in January anyway. But you're going to have that 3-month period at the end of the year that revenue won't be coming in.
That's fine. Also cash flow issues or anything like that.
No, we have ample cash reserves, I bet. It will, I mean, we're probably looking 70 to 75,000 in revenue off the host fee for that period.
Gotcha.
That will. It might make the budget look a little unbalanced, but it's not going to cause the cash.
Tom, you were mentioning something about cardboard at the fair. I just had a wild hair shoot through my brain. Made me look at the feasibility of a cardboard compactor. The Herald Times, I know, had one inside the building. The school corporation has bought that Herald Times building. I don't know if the school corporation would want to keep it or if they're looking at getting rid of it. It's just something to think about, to
It
explore.
would be something to think about, and that would probably be something to investigate with Frontier Republic. Because the units that you're referring to aren't real mobile. And they're permanent installments in those buildings, but there are more portable units out there.
Okay.
But they're not cheap. But perhaps Frontier Republic may actually already have some, and it'd be something that could be leased or rented that week of the fair or something.
There's a lot of cardboard that goes through the fair with all the vendors and
Yes.
stuff that are out there.
Yeah.
It just takes a sign on, cardboard for recycle, whatever, and tote it over there every day.
Yeah, like I said, that's, we're gonna try later this fall, we're gonna try and have a meeting with the fair board and just kind of look at what are our options, what can we do, what do we think will work, and try to do a little bit more next year and learn from that, and maybe more the following year. Kind of keep it growing and going and get as much as we can.
Any other questions? All right, so I did put chair for us in the section as well. I'll just note that I know Paul and I were at the fair that represented CAC. Want to see if anybody else came that I didn't know of. Okay, cool. So that was all from the chair notes. So I can bring us right into our second item, which is priority new business for this meeting, which is the district's 2024 proposed budget comments that we are to submit to the board. All of us, I believe, except for Paul and John, were at the Showington board meeting. We got to see the full budget presentation in real time from the board, I guess from Tom for the board, but just want to present the opportunity in particular for you both if you have any questions for Tom about the budget contents.
I'll be honest, I had not seen the video, so I can't.
Right. So
I've had such a busy month that
in that case,
I was looking forever to see her meeting. I finally found it last night.
Tom, do you have anything in particular that you wanted to note about the budget?
Well, I mean, there are a handful of lines that do have fairly, significant increase or decrease, but I guess the bottom line of where the proposed budget currently sits right now is a deficit of a little over $29,000, but that does include a $50,000 appropriation the executive committee requested just to have funds available to pursue whatever opportunities we find or whatever we can do to try to pick up the food waste collection and composting options with earth keepers going away. So absent, you take that out, the budget is was at almost a $30,000 surplus, and that included based on the CPI that we traditionally use every year, a $2,000 cost of living increase for all employees. Flip through it here real fast. Our landfills pollution prevention policy is due December, January this year. We try to pay it in December when we can, if not, so we pay it in January. We do, glass hauling came down, a significant amount, but that's based on, we anticipate that, glass will be going to a local facility here in the near future. Certainly for all of next year.
Processing or recycling?
Recycling, I mean, that's the Rumpke facility takes glass. They have their own processing facility in Dayton. There's also potential opportunities to for maybe perhaps some direct haul bypassing their processing facility in Dayton and going straight to some of their end users that they have contracts with. But for us, that'll be substantial savings on hauling and. Those are really the biggies.
Is the thought process for Rumpke to come and pick up dumpsters or the roll-offs where we have them now for glass? Or is the public supposed to go to Rumpke to dispose?
No, our process is more the same. Instead of the boxes being hauled from the sites to Indy, we anticipate that they'll be hauled down to Rumpke. So still working with Rumpke on pricing for the glass and our hauling rates. But we anticipate that's going to happen. I guess the big revenue decrease is on orange bags. That came down $21,500, and then it's based on our experience year to date, previous years. That it goes up and down $20,000 to $25,000 here and there. We adjust the revenues, accordingly year to year. But on the one sense, it's, if we're not seeing the sale, that's good. People are throwing away less. But it does, it does impact our revenue, but that's all right. And I guess, the big driver on the revenue is the property tax. And this year's growth quotient is 4%, which is what it was capped at by a new law that went into effect this year, House Enrolled Act 1499. What does not allow the growth quotient to go 4% this year and next year. I mean, under, but it won't be.
Assessor will increase at 8%. So
That I can't.
did I say that out loud?
That I can't control. I just take the percentages they give me and calculate them. But if there's any questions, and I'll be too, if you have, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to go here shortly, but if you guys have your discussion, you're always welcome to email me with, additional questions that that's gonna, something hanging out there in your comments, depend on or whatever. We try to get the answer as quick as we can. There really was not a whole lot of question or concern expressed by any of the board members, but they reviewed this at their last meeting. So I would anticipate that barring substantial changes, it will be approved by our board in August and on its way to the county council.
Thanks, Tom. Did anyone else come with any questions since the last meeting? Okay.
Actually, I do 50,000 towards food waste. It's there when something's figured out how to address that.
Right, yeah, there's no obligation to spend that money.
But if there's something that we can figure out to address the food waste.
Right.
It's right. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it would be. Yeah, I mean, we could work with the city and develop some sort of a grant program. It could become grant money.
There's a bad rate of opportunity.
Yeah, it depends on what kind of options presented. So I've been working with the city's Office of Economic Sustainable Development. We've been talking with a company out of Indianapolis called Mama Compost.
No, I did. That reminds me, that meeting had happened between our previous meeting and this meeting, and I had neglected to note that I wanted to check in to see how that conversation went.
What, the one this morning?
Oh, there's more, okay.
Well, there was one this morning and as soon as we did introduction, we lost internet at the office. So I missed that.
So that would be,
But that was more to focus in on Bloomington's compost up downtown program. But I was interested in learning more about that, but so at any rate. So we have been talking with them. They have an interest in expanding their services down to Bloomington. The disadvantage they have over Earth Keepers is they don't own a facility. They don't have their own facility. So they use a local facility up there and just outside Indianapolis. And you know, when you start looking at cost and carbon footprint and labor and fuel to move material from Bloomington to Indianapolis, it really becomes cost prohibitive. So, but you know, it is, you know, is there somebody in Bloomington, whether it be a private or public entity, you know, that might consider doing a facility down here? You know, the possibility exists, maybe do some sort of a subsidy to get things kick-started and be able to keep it going. You know, one of the things that's been talked about, at least for Sean Maya office, the city's sustainability office, and Alex Crowley, you know, the sooner the better, because we don't want to lose the momentum. And so, you know, even if that means we fight the bullet a little bit initially, just to make sure we keep that momentum going, I think there's some willingness to do that.
Would that be an acceptable use of the Anderson landfill site?
Potentially, it has been brought up. There would be some hurdles at the state level probably to make that happen, given the history.
There's gonna be hurdles anyway.
But it's not out of the realm of possibility.
most of the content from your preceding meeting, so you were actually able to.
Yes, yes, the one that I did not get kicked out of by Zoom, by the internet provider.
Okay, probably time to let you go then.
It is, unless there's anything else.
This I believe for me.
All right.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, well, thank you all, and I'm sorry to bail on you.
Of course, thank you both for making it today.
Yeah. See if he can sneak out and avoid the camera.
Thank you, teenager, will you?
Yeah.
We're about 2 weeks till we're a teenager. Happy birthday.
Take care, everybody.
You too, thanks, Doug. So I did want to note, I skipped over, so for those who particularly, well, I think, yeah, maybe just not, but so it's in Indiana State Statute, IC 13-21-3-11 that defines the Citizen Advisory Committee. It's section G, part 2, that says an advisory committee shall do the following. Who says submit written comments concerning the proposed budget at a public hearing that is held to review the proposed budget. So that's what we're doing right now. That's why we're submitting written comments. It's required by state statute that citizens advisory committees do that. So it doesn't have to be elaborate, but it is compulsory. So we will write something. And so it's just also, I mean.
Please make it more than Paul wasn't there.
It's now the community for us to communicate to the board, you know, formally how we feel about the budget.
I prefer in flat home members to take home.
So we basically just kind of semi-formally express collectively how we feel about it, make sure that everyone has consensus about what we're putting into the communication. That's then Brian has offered or accepted, I guess, putting the actual composition together and sending it to the board. Thanks, Brian. So does anyone have any particular sentiments that they want to express in our communication on the budget? Really, I guess in anything really category.
Personally, since I'm big on reducing food waste, I was happy to hear that there's money set aside to address that issue. Not having a solution right now, but working towards that and knowing that you have that money set aside makes it easier than having a solution than saying we need to go get the money. So I'm very grateful on that was something that was mentioned.
I strongly agree. That was kind of my predominant sentiment as well. I know it's usually two things for me. One is always gratitude to Tom and staff for doing a good job putting together a balanced budget, always adjusting things on a year-to-year basis based on previous year's experience. So we're glad for that. It's been balanced and it's been positive in the few years that I've been in the CEC. But in this particular case, Tom mentioned the deficit budget, but that's with this extra allocation for compost, which I feel is supportive. And like Tom also mentioned, there's a lot of reserves available. So was any risk to financial well-being to have that allocated. Those are my sentiments. Any others? Right. Well, gosh, I don't know if that requires a motion. I think it's pretty clear. Well, maybe we
I don't
can.
think it does, really.
Okay. Is there any objection to the sentiments expressed?
No.
Okay. Good. Sure, everybody has an opportunity. So, okay, then thank you, Ryan, for putting that together. Is there anything you wanted to verbalize? I mean, since you're writing it, you can write them in yourself, but.
Yeah, just appreciated that, we do have the flexibility to, you know, and be able to request additional funds. The reminder that was there, you know, whatever is in our requested budget doesn't have to be the bottom line. They are able to work with us. I really appreciate that.
That's a good point. I'll also note that when we were talking about the cash reserve that the district already has and about addressing food waste and maybe, well, I guess more generally finding productive use for those cash reserves now that the host agreements are finalized. The likely trajectory is there will be some sort of working group between the CAC staff and the board discussing how to approach that. And then it was Chair Jeff Kim who had mentioned that there can also be allocations made, special allocations made outside of the budget cycle. We don't have something lined up as budget approved. It's still possible if funds are available to make that allocation anytime during the year, as has already been done for a handful of other things this year. So that's what Ryan was referring to, or the reminder that we don't have to have finalized numbers by the time the budget's approved, and then if it's changeable, you just everything during the year.
Well, as I understand the budgeting process. Just in case I'm gonna have $50,000 worth of stuff allocated, right? Doesn't mean we have to spend it, right? And so, well, we had to make a request to that budget allocation to spend something out of it.
For us, the CAC, yes, but I mean, for
I mean, even for the waste district,
to request of whom,
I would assume whoever's controlling the purse strings.
oh, okay. At least the scope of the having the funding, like you said, having the budget, having the money budgeted makes it like.
Yeah.
A lot easier than trying to get a special appropriation,
Yes.
which you can do, but you have to document more.
Similar to going to war and, oh shoot, we forgot to purchase for the bombs.
So. Yeah, I guess any other thoughts on the district 2024 budget, proposed budget? All right. Well, and yes, I jump back over to our agenda. That takes care of our priority business. Thank you all for that. And will bring us to approval of the minutes, which I'm going to bring up in a screen share. So we are going to start with May 24th. It's. My apologies, bear with me. Okay. This. These are the Minutes for the May 24th regular meeting, which were included on the packet that was distributed yesterday, also uploaded to Dropbox. Are there any corrections to these minutes?
None that I saw.
I do have a handful of notes that I added to the comments on the file that's in Dropbox, but I'll just read through them now. So it mentioned first that there was. It said Brad Austin had requested appointment to our committee. It's Matt Austin. Similarly, it mentions Polly DeWine, Polly DeWard last name.
Yeah, I wasn't sure of the spelling and I got busy and didn't get some thoughts or you called to see what it should be, but it's solid war.
Yes, it's capital D W capital W. So I, like I said.
Yeah, because if I misspell something, sometimes people don't always speak up so I can hear real well.
Sure.
Do the best I can, but sometimes it's.
And that's what this part is for. That's why we review the minutes. So as long as you just take the proposed changes and incorporate them into the minutes, then they'll be finalized. And that's how the process goes. So a couple other notes there. It says the contract, and it should be the host fee agreement was the item of discussion.
Oh, okay.
And then lastly, it talks about suppliers for plastic bags. It's actually vendors for receiving the plastic bags for processing. So those are the corrections that I propose, if there are no objections. Okay. Then those minutes are approved as corrected. And then that brings us to our June 15th regular meeting minutes, which was also in the packets and uploaded to Dropbox. And is now shown in this share. And then similarly, are there any corrections? Other corrections, I should say. Okay.
The same with the controller hauling the wall and the war.
Okay.
I mean, make sure we get that correct.
Thank you. Yeah, I noted that one, yeah. Yeah, and then, yeah, there's two cases of controller, the war, and then just noted that, in reports, part 2, that the district staff will prepare a new agreement and not the board. And then also I just, a suggestion for part 4 is district staff met with, NGO Rethink. Members just distinguished because board members are also. Those are my suggestions. Any objections? All right. Those are approved as corrected as well. That takes care of all of our regular meeting minutes.
So that should bring us up to date.
Yes, thank you for that. That also completes our approval meeting minutes for the agenda. Report on special committees. I didn't think to include this in the agenda, but just another quick update on rebranding, still going. I think it's made quite a bit of progress. So we finally, everybody on the subcommittee is in agreement about the general layout and the elements that are represented. We're going to have one more meeting to talk about and finalize the name, the official name, and the slogan.
Trying to get it all.
It's no longer tragic. But it's not today's version. So,
Very good for a dumpster.
no. You'll see. I think it's going well. I think everybody is really forward. Now it's just about the name. The name district or the term district is the one part that's still in discussion. It was waste reduction district. It was pretty solid, but now we're discussing the use of the term district, something else more appropriate, and see what that comes out to be. That's the status update on the rebranding process. Questions?
I don't think Matt or Bill were part of the CAC when the subcommittee was formed. Would it be okay to open it up and just see if there's any interest? Because we did lose some members from the subcommittee,
Right.
or is it a little late in the game to bring in new voices?
That's a good question. I guess maybe start to see if there's any interest.
Yeah.
If there's no, then it's no worries. But
I think that's.
yeah,
I'd be happy to help. You guys sound like you've got it outside of the last word.
right. Again, at the very least, if either of you are interested, we've been on latest communication is, if you want to read up on the text. Good on the interest.
I would be interested in a different subcommittee, but as far as the branding, that too much of what I do for work. I'd be afraid there'd be a crossover in messaging between the private and public aspect of it.
Okay, that makes sense.
Now I'm milking cows or milking goats.
Yeah.
So what do you do for a job then?
We do what?
What's your regular job?
I'm the district manager for Rumpke.
Oh, okay.
They use the word district as well.
Okay, so any other questions? Well, I guess I'll note that subject, for special committees, we have one other committee that's, exists right now. It's the implementation and evaluation, the 5-year management plan, implementation evaluation guidance subcommittee. Essentially, there was a document, so we made the 5-year management plan by collaboration with the board and staff. And then now we have sort of a follow-up committee to try to support the implementation of it. Status is we provided a reporting template for the district so that they can enter in their progress on each of the elements of the management. So Tom's received it, acknowledged it, and is waiting an opportunity to view it and input it and I guess start using it with staff. So that's essentially the last thing that committee had worked on. Just a quick note on that.
It was that somewhat we're gonna wait and hold until we get that new person in place who's there now.
Yes, they're kind of waiting for things to settle a little bit, waste reduction, just to be interacting with it. So that's the status of that. And then maybe I think we can visit in new business involvement in committees or potential new committees if there's interest that you have on others. So that will cover reports and special committees. Are there any questions on, I guess, the last note I made about the implementation and evaluation subcommittee update? Okay, great. So then there are no special orders, there's no unfinished business. And then I did add as a new business item, presentation planning, since we've talked about incorporating presentations or education components to our meetings in a cyclical way. Just wanted to provide an opportunity if anybody had thoughts already that they wanted to share about people to invite or places to go or content in general. For that aspect.
I think I've been thinking about Rethink. I mean, they're all not local.
It's in the, it's
In Terre Haute that had, so if anyone missed this,
that's all went to.
yeah, that,
Yeah, for his mama. Composting.
no,
It's always in Terre Haute.
Rethink Terre Haute.
yeah, Rethink Terre Haute. So they do community gardening, plastic repurposing. So I think that, like Tom said, that they compress plastic to make into like playground materials, but just different ways to work at the community level to promote zero waste, working with the land, reducing waste. But they're a nonprofit. They just sound interesting. That's one of the ones that I was thinking of. It really does seem like the landscape will have to have, you know, a lot of big and small players in order to meet sustainability goals. So having something like Rethink that is a little bit out of the box would be a nice opportunity to learn more about.
Thoughts or seconds?
All right, I second that. On that idea, since food waste is a topic of conversation that's important to many folks, maybe looking to something, an expert in food waste reduction, or maybe a city that already has observation that they are either private or public, seeing how do that get set up, what's the impact, what the cost to their customers.
And that one as well.
Because we're looking for solutions. And we're getting educated on potential solutions. The first mama, my understanding is they're a transportation service.
Okay.
They're not doing any of the actual composting. There's I need to guess, figure out his phone number again, but there's a guy out of New Jersey who's trying to figure out commercial scale or industrial scale bokashi. And so if you don't know what bokashi is, it's Japanese, and it's essentially fermenting your food waste. It's anaerobic. And a quick way to describe that is anaerobic decomposition or fermentation is a process in which microbes feed on organic matter without the presence of oxygen. This process doesn't generate any heat and almost no carbon dioxide is released compared to traditional composting. The process creates a stable, nutrient-dense, pre-digested food for the soil with no carbon footprint. And so we, farm that I work at, we're able to take food waste, we accept some of our neighbors' food waste. And less than 3 months, I like to promise over deliver. It's actually less than that, less than 3 months between the bokashi and using a worm composting system. We're able to turn it into black mold in less than 3 months, which is faster than anything else out there. Now, this is on a small scale.
I don't recall if there's anything of that nature discussed in the anaerobic digester presentation.
On the biodigester, no, because that's all completely different. That's all human poo and industrial scale.
Yeah.
Nice strength, HSOW.
Yeah, nice.
Trying to remember.
Got it. Yeah, okay. So that is that the particular, or I guess a particular potential speaker that you're interested in?
Yeah, I just have to find his phone number and all of that. That's New Jersey on a scale.
Right.
And right now it's much easier to do on a small scale because you've got these buckets and whatnot, but how fast it turns food waste over is incredible compared to traditional, even just with worm composter. It still takes us 6 months to turn it over. And if you cut that in half or more, really makes a difference.
I was watching an episode of This Old House on PBS recently, and they had gone to the school because the school had requested that they build some above ground garden things, raised garden. And I was thinking, well, could we maybe build some kind of a model to have a raised bed garden? I mean, we've got these all over already, anyway,
Right.
kind of, but to have that, and what you just talked about. So now we had rich soil to go back into our garden over here. Yeah. And to me, the elementary age level kids, maybe third grade or already depending, would be the prime target for that learning experience to carry through. So show how, okay, now you've raised your vegetables. Now what you don't finish eating, we put it over here and turn it back in. So, and create more from it.
So on that note, we've done that at Child Elementary.
Okay.
So my sister's father-in-law and husband developed an in-ground worm composting system. If you're familiar with vermicomposting, typically it's indoors because you have to keep maintain the temperature so it doesn't get too cold or too hot.
Right.
And so it's actually manned by the 5th and 6th graders. They let it, because of COVID, they kind of let it go, but they're restarting it. And so we're hoping kids go home and then they say, why aren't we composting at home? And they do have a garden there, but there was a lot of pushback from CCSC, unfortunately, because they have to teach to the tests and they're not willing to integrate that type of curriculum into it. Maybe with the new head of MCCSC, maybe that'll be different because I heard she's open to it. But
NCCSC, if you're listening.
so the worm composting system is also installed at Wonder Lab. So we're hoping to do more of that. But that's the great thing about bokashi is that like once it's been bokashi pickled, animals don't get into it, rats don't get into it. They don't want that. You keep the vast majority of the nutrients and minerals in it instead of it like a no carbon or very low carbon dioxide. And then you can bury it. The actual, like if you bokashi an onion or a broccoli, you pull out that same thing. And you can just bury it into a bed. It'll disintegrate on its own. Into a raised bed, or you can put it into a composting system and keep that composting system up. Or if you put it in worms, it's just so much faster. So kind of combining these two in a model that other cities could then follow or counties could follow would be incredible. But finding a site to do it and do it on scale, those are definitely some challenges involved. So back to the topic of education.
Right.
Opportunities to run meetings.
Yeah. Yeah. And did anyone else have any thoughts about content?
I know. Rumpke, they said that there's their facility in Cincinnati. We wouldn't necessarily take a field trip down there, but does it make sense to have an educational, somebody, whoever their education team is down there, zoom in and kind of show us what's happening there. So we have a better understanding of the process that it goes through.
Right. No, you haven't to know there's somebody.
Yeah, we do have an education department. We could do that. Certainly, I mean, they'd be more than happy to zoom in and do that. If you ever get a chance, though, even if it's outside of the CIC, I highly encourage you to go to see that facility. Because I've been in this business for 31 years and it still impresses that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I mean, it does 50 tons an hour of recycling.
Wow.
Yeah, and the machine you told me about how it's what, like a city block or 2 city blocks, however big it is, and how it just starts here and then through like the mass of the product and
Right.
falls in the water and
Yeah.
they separate. Like I'm doing a terrible job of explaining it. But yeah, it sounds
It's really impressive, but I know we have videos that show the process as well. That's just not as,
dynamic.
yeah. It's like looking at a beautiful mountain. Yeah, it looks nice on your screen, but when you're actually get out and look at it and see how big and vast.
Your breath is taken away.
Yeah.
Curious, are there tours or is there like a group size limit if we were to organize and actually make it like a CMC?
We do. We do tours of our facilities. So we could do a tour of the landfill if you guys actually want to see that, because I know there's a big focus on composting here, but we actually compost at the landfills and turn it into natural gas and then heat the homes around the landfills with it. So our Medora landfill, our
I'm
natural
just
gas.
saying, do you do that at Medora?
Yes.
Do you do that at Medora?
But the plant, I'm not sure if it's online yet or not. I believe it is, but it's just got finished.
Oh,
So
you're saying the plan
yeah, within,
for the methane capture.
yes,
Okay.
yeah, the wells were already capturing the methane as far as the compressor is pumping it back into the utilities. I don't know if that's up yet. I can find out for the committee for the next
That would be very
next meeting. But I know our Brown County, Ohio landfill does, our Cincinnati, our flagship landfill has it.
having a
Mount
better
Sterling,
understanding
Kentucky.
of where these things go and how it works, I think would help and maybe stir some ideas in us.
I think it could be a potential use of also our travel and education funds. If we could organize
Yeah.
a tour and get some of our members to go, I personally would be interested in doing that.
Yeah.
So I second that. Okay. Take a note on. Okay.
If we do the Cincinnati one, if we do it in the baseball season, we go take it again.
how long are the tours of the recycling and landfill facilities? Like, we get a day trip, or would it be better to?
We could, you guys want to see both facilities in East County, because that is our biggest operation. We could do both in one day. We could set up like a morning tour at the recycling center. And then an afternoon tour at the landfill, or vice versa.
I would love to do both. So yeah, if we could do both in a day, I'd be the way to do it.
Yeah.
Okay,
We'll take it.
right.
Yes, get your resume in.
Cool. Okay. Any more thoughts on the education aspect of our activities? Good. I think we'll move it over now. Good. They're only scheduled item new business, but bill education, subcommittee involvement. So, and I do, we still have a few minutes, 10 minutes left in our scheduled time. As Brian mentioned, if we've ever had a full coverage of our current subcommittees are, or even revisited the potential of having different subcommittees. I think that might be a good opportunity for that. There's in particular that you wanted to voice about being active over committee or anybody.
One thing I did consider is like, as we're kind of doing the rebranding of the districts, and we have a budget set aside for promotional supplies, is there going to be kind of something that kind of follows along at the cap level in terms of how we want to present ourselves on any promotional materials if we get to that point? So I don't know, it would be worth having a subcommittee that's only cap based for, developing promotional materials.
So my general idea of how it would look like is finishing up the district rebranding process and sometime early next year or whenever, whenever we have capacity and it seems appropriate to approach that. I hadn't given any thought to the format. I feel like that would be a function of kind of member interests. If it's something we all want to feel like it'd be reasonable to at least at one point all sit down and sort of share thoughts and see who's interested in pursuing it. That makes sense. Sounds reasonable.
Yes.
Okay. Any particular thoughts up front on that process?
But like you said, kind of looking down the road, it might be more appropriate to revisit,
Okay.
after the districts or the rebrandings settle down a little bit more.
Shall we table that for the January meeting? Okay.
Might be nice to have a listing what our subcommittees actually are currently.
There, the best place that represents it right now is in the Dropbox. There is a subcommittees folder. There's a folder for each of those.
And gonna be there.
The question is then, where do you envision these things being listed?
Piece of paper in front of me.
That's just the place where I will organize.
Yeah,
Organize at least any of our shared information, so that everyone can access it. I don't have any other.
there are certain aspects of technology that I'm getting along well with, certain aspects that I'm not. And Dropbox is one of those that I'm not.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't have any other good solutions for where something like that could go. I don't disagree with the idea, but I don't know how else to represent it.
I'm glad that you put our agendas right here on the emails, it's very helpful.
Good.
So he's saying he wants a link to the Dropbox.
Oh.
Then maybe he'll think, oh, then maybe. Crash that, sorry, Dropbox.
Okay, I think that covers everything, at least for subcommittee involvement for now. Is that true? Okay, yes. Ryan, did you have any other thoughts?
Yeah, well, not for subcommittees.
Okay, okay.
But
Then we'll
moving-
wrap up that agenda.
I'm really sorry, the weather, I'm really sorry you ended up at the.
Hey, like I said, I just, huh?
Yeah, so, yeah, after I canceled Adopt the Road. Paul showed up, so I'm really sorry
Oh.
about that. But,
I was there at 8:30.
I'm glad you at least saw the email at some point. So as I send out another poll for Adopt a Road, do Saturday mornings generally work well for everyone, or is there another day that could be throwing out there?
I think stands out for me.
Okay, then I'll keep it at Saturday. It just makes the most sense to me in terms of work schedule and everything, so I'll send that out tomorrow then.
It's softball season now, and Saturdays when we have our meets, so.
Okay, yeah. I think it's,
Special Olympics is prior in my life.
yeah, is it in the morning or is there
It's all day.
all day? Okay,
When we have tournaments, it's like all day long.
Yeah.
I do want to note on that subject of Adopt a Road that I actually watched the training video for the first time. I didn't realize there was. Thank you, Ryan, for that.
Yeah.
But it says that Adopt a Road commitments are for 4 cleanups a year.
Mhm. They,
Road cleanup.
And we do one.
the website, that might be something to kind of stay on top of better, I guess, as we go
But-
forward.
One's better than none.
One's better than, and I travel that road a lot, so I keep an eye on how bad, and it's actually not too bad for a change this time.
So we'll just go on your schedule. Whenever you say it's getting bad.
I'll get it when we have our first, no.
Try to do it around like the mowing schedules.
Yeah.
Before the trash gets shredded.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the cars, anybody else figure those out.
I can find this one.
Okay.
Yeah, Mary Beth King, so it's really helpful.
Nice, okay.
So,
Great input. Sorry, great input.
Yeah, but that training video, it's a good job to the district for actually, and Dave Ryan for putting that before me, because.
Oh, yeah.
The Adopt a Road training, I didn't realize it was on the site, I never.
Yeah.
realized that, but I'm ashamed to say.
I'm trying to battle with the weather as I'm trying.
And there was no rain, there was no lightning.
Annual report, cleanups will be like, shucks, I missed the one cleanup a year.
Yeah.
And maybe we can casually go instead of having to do this big annual ordeal,
Yeah,
which it feels like it has become.
yeah, I'm letting it get a little drawn out, so, yeah, I'll try to get something done before September. In terms of getting the next one
All right,
taken care of.
thank you for putting it together, despite the weather.
Yeah.
And any other new business items? All right, seeing none, that will bring us to public comment, which I'm gonna check to see if there is on Zoom. I don't see any members of the public on Zoom and present in the room. So I will make the reminder that our next regular meeting is Thursday, August 17th at 5:30 p.m. And if there's no objection, this meeting will adjourn.